Hey everyone, it's Lenny G and Bobby. We are back with another episode 3 of Focused Action. And today we wanted to talk about how we go about getting information that we need to be able to, again, like we said last week, going right to the source and investigating things for ourselves with our county and elected officials, with our state elected officials. We have been doing this all year. I can tell you right now, over a year ago, I had never filed an information request with my county or with the federal government or with the state or anybody. And it's just interesting, to go through that process to learn. But the point of this podcast is to help you understand what kinds of information we were asking for, how to file a public information request to your county, what little gotchas we found out along the way, lessons learned. And we have a guest on today, as you see. Josie Sylvester is out of Kamal County, and she is just a really awesome at and very sleuthy at filing really good public information requests. And so we wanted to have her on to share her experiences, because she has had some crazy things happen and has found some very interesting information. And we're doing this just to empower all of you to be able to know that you can access information from your county, that the law is that they have to share it with you. We are the taxpayers, we are the electorate, the people have the ability to access this information. So I don't know if Bobby or Josie want to jump in with what the difference is. I don't even know the difference necessarily between a FOIA request. Everyone always hears about FOIA versus a PIA or PIR. There's all these different acronyms. So maybe someone can give a little context. It kind of doesn't matter. We're just trying to get information from an elected office.
So, I'm pretty sure Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, is a federal act, and PIA is public information. Well, it's a PIR, I think it's a public information request. And that's Texas state. So they're slightly different. They're the same, it's the same concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the PIA is the Public Information Act for Texas.
Yeah.
Okay, so in Texas, that's what it's called. It's not called FOIA for Texas.
Right. So that threw me off a little bit at the beginning, just, terms.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what kinds of PIAs you had filed and how you encountered some roadblocks and how you worked with the Texas Attorney General's office to get through some of those roadblocks.
Okay, well, basically, I just react to whenever we're told to, file Public Information Act requests, whether it's Tory or the channel, and I just go ahead and do it. And so the first ones were basically to the state representatives who went to Washington during the summer and just, left the legislature, so nothing could be done. And so we had a group that worked on that, and we basically sent it to 54 representatives. 45 who answered, 9 who did not. And then their quotes were so ridiculously high, going from free to $35,000. And we were just astounded. So we decided, well, we should at least ask about the quotes because the variety was so great. So I called the Attorney General's office and told them about the situation and told them I did not want to clog up their basically, what's it called? Complaint form. I get, because I had to file each one individually. So I didn't want to put 54 through there and upset them. And I explained the great variety in the quotes we had received. So whoever I spoke to was very understanding. He said, "Yes, send it, send it. You can send it in a document form, you know." So I had to send my original request to each representative plus each of their quotes, which I did, and I stapled it all together and put it in a box and sent it to them.
So
And
what
then
kinds
the
of,
Attorney
just to give
General,
context, just to give some context to back up, what kinds of information were you requesting?
we were asking for about, it was a period of about 4 weeks when that we requested it. We asked for emails, communications. It was a whole list. I still have it. I just have to go look at it. Just try and figure out, did they plan this in advance? That was our reason, you know, trying to see
Yes.
how did they come up to magically leave, all get on the same plane and leave. And we were just trying to gather information. And it was over a short period of time. And
And so some
we realized we
reps
probably,
were saying, okay, we're, you know, it's going to cost you $3 to get all these communications, and some were saying $30,000.
no, up, well, yes, yes, you're right, sorry. A couple, three provided free information, which was totally useless. Were like recipes and a joke and totally blacked out pages. And one provided 150 emails that were pretty interesting. And then the others ranged, you know, from the average is probably like in the $12,000 range, but up to $35,000,
Crazy.
and for the same information.
Wow.
So I listed it all, and you know, when you look at the quotes, it's just astonishing. And so anyway, Attorney General, he sent a letter to the reps and asked them to explain their quotes and asked them to draw him a map of how far they had to walk to buildings to gather information. He was kind of funny. But anyway, so they all answered back, and I got a copy, and it was the same quote that I received initially. It was the exact same thing, plus a open records request that from 2009. And so I thought, you know, that I should not be receiving this. It's somebody else's open records request. Why are they sending this to me? And I told the first one, I think you sent this to me by mistake. And they told me, no, that's precedent. And I said, well, I've heard of that in case law, or I wrote them back, I should say. And you know, it's for case law, but never for an open records request that had no litigation or anything associated with it. That was just ridiculous. But quite a few of them used that. They sent the same one, exact same one. So anyway, the Attorney General had them answer him and explain their quotes. And then, and so I received a copy of each one from the Attorney General, which was 45 letters, and nothing has happened since. And I mean, the Attorney General has discretion. I think he has 180 days to answer if he wants to. So it's probably about 150 days now since the so that's where that one's at.
Wow.
And then, yeah, and so it's sitting there. I don't know what they're doing with it. I mean, I could actually file a mandamus, but that's really not what I'm asking, you know? That wasn't well, it wasn't my intent, but it was just to gather information. And it wasn't just me; it was a group of us who did that.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I've done sent many to the Secretary of State, to my county, to HHS, DSHS, CDC, my county health office, just, when Tori told us, go ahead and ask them for, like, how are you testing for something that doesn't exist? Send a request for that. And what happened with me, each agency just said, oh, it has nothing to do with us. Send it to so-and-so, all to each other, constantly in a loop. So I've done that. But then my county, I've really constantly requested certain documents. They send me documents, but not the ones I request. So what actually happened, I had 4 Public Information Act requests that they suddenly didn't respond to at all. And that was going from about 130 days to 30 days. It had accumulated. And I thought, well, my county's not going to respond at all anymore. And so I just thought, okay, I'll just tell them, you have not responded to my request of such and such a date. I'm going to file a open records complaint with the Attorney General at such and such, the link. And then the link beautifully brought up this box and says Attorney General such and such, very official. And then in 2 days, I got quite a bit of information suddenly and promises to provide all the rest. And it was all, and then some of them were apologizing for not responding, and they blamed the elections for it. So eventually they did send me all the documents I requested finally, except the main ones, which were the approval letter from the Secretary of State to the county approving the purchase of Heart Verity Voting 2.4. That I never got that letter. I never ever got the contract for Heart Verity 2.4 either, or the contract for Heart Verity 2.5 either. They did not send them. But miracles of miracles, they did send me the approval letter from the Secretary of State to my county clerk, who is responsible for the election. Bobby Kep is her name, approving the purchase of Heart Verity 2.5. But still, I got no contracts, and the approval letter for 2.4 is not there.
So just to give everyone some context, I just want to give everyone some context. So we, are on this whole Big Texas group. We have representation from a lot of different counties, probably over 60 counties of probably the 250 counties that Texas has, maybe more, I don't know. And usually, we might have 1 or 2 people in a smaller county, like you're one of the only people in Kamal County. The reason we asked for all of this information from everyone is to help with a case that we've been working on, but really just to understand, for people to understand in their county what version of the voting system their county used for the November 2020 election. Pretty simple. We just want to know the version. We wanted to understand the contracts that led to the purchase of that version, what contracts were signed, any kind of contract modifications, any communications between the county and the Secretary of State, any kind of testing or, certifications that happen at the county level. We're just, looking for information, and we've been doing that for probably, 15 months now in various forms across multiple different counties. And it's just been so interesting, the information that we found. And so if you're listening to this and you are in a county in Texas, please reach out. Please, we'll tell you, the kinds of requests that you should submit. We'll let you know if your county has found information. Pretty much for all the major counties, except for a few, we have gotten a lot of this information, but there are quite a few that we haven't. For example, like El Paso County, we haven't had anyone reach out that they are in our group, able to ask for information in that county. And we really do want someone in the county to be requesting the information. Like I could have reached reached out to multiple counties to find information, but if I don't live in that county, then it's not, I don't think is effective. We really want people in that county to be fighting for and supporting their own community. I got enough trouble with my own county, enough things to read about with my own county. But what we ran into, which was interesting, is in Texas, we have Hart, Verity, and we have ES&S. And then there are some counties, like 36 of them, running some version that it's not even certified, and we don't even know what's going on in those counties. But for Hart in particular, we've been getting a lot of pushback in counties that really mirrors, they all kind of have mirrored the same pushback, right? And we had gotten the contract early on in multiple counties, but then in some counties like Josie's and others, they have said, no, we can't send, this contract, which has been, and getting pushback from actually Hart as the company saying you can't send these contracts, when we've already gotten the contracts from some other counties. So it's been very strange. And so Josie, maybe share some back and forth as to what has been going on with that version 2.4 or 2.4.2 and all that, what's going on with that, and why it's important to read your contracts with your voting systems yourself and not wait for some news outlet to tell you, or some influencer to tell you what's going on with your own community.
Yeah, yes. Because what the county did send to me were all completely different documents. It was not what I asked for at all. I mean, it had little hints. I mean, I think a lot of you have seen that. But the initial contract I received from the DA was the wrong one. I mean, it was a correct time frame, but it was not the version that was used, and they would never admit it except my county coordinator, who I called up. I called her up in person, and so she was kind of caught off guard, and I was just nice to her. And I asked her, could she tell me the version we voted on in the general election of 2020? And she said, oh, it was on the Secretary of State website. And I said, no, it's not. The incorrect version is on there, and the EAC is wrong as well. And she said, oh, no, let me check. And she checked, and she said, oh, it is wrong. And she said, oh, we sent the information a long time ago. And then she said, I said, oh, when was that then? You said, oh, a year and a half ago. And I said, oh, and it says, yes, we upgraded to different version, to 2.4. So, and I asked her, oh, when was that? And she told me, August 2020. And so I had already been searching for a long time. So I didn't want to scare her off. And I asked her, oh, could you please email me that? Because I really would like to, get that from you if you can do it. And she did it. She emailed me. And she's the only one in my county has told the truth. Nobody else has.
And that's something that happened with us in Travis County as well, where we had asked some very pointed questions about the version number, and we got two different emails that did say the version number that was used, and it's different from what was on the Secretary of State website, and it's also different from what the contract was approved by the county commissioner's court. So, and I did send an email back to the the person responding to the open records request and said, you just sent me three different, answers. Basically, you attached two files that said, two different versions. And then in your email, you say a third different version. Can you please explain and tell me which version was used? And she confirmed again that it was the version she said in the email. And I said, but the documents say differently. And she said, I don't have anything further to give you to answer your request. So same kind of thing where the person responding is kind of like, I think, telling the truth, but doesn't have any documentation to back up what they're saying. And in the case of Travis County, it was a version of a voting system that was not approved for use in the state of Texas at that time. So these are the kinds of things you can uncover, and why no one's reporting on it, whatever. This is where we were talking about the other day. Maybe Bobby, you want to jump in on how, this is how you become the news, right? You're entering the ring to do your own investigation, and you're finding things that other people don't want to report on.
Yeah, like I'd say my experience talking to counties and then being in the county is that they've evolved to this place where they're like, we are the county. So whatever they do is what we have to live with. It's not whether they follow the rules, because who are you to tell us what the rules are? Like, it was like, well, an update came in, so we updated the machines. Like, why are you questioning us? When you get an update on your phone, you update your phone. Like, why, who are you to question us? And I think all of this movement, at least from 2021 to now, is like just to open your eyes that all of these people work for us. And they've adopted this idea that this is just their job, and whatever they do is what they do, and that the citizens of that county need to live with it. And that's really not the way it's supposed to work in any county, in any state, in the whole country. They work for us, and they establish rules, and they're required to go along with them. And if we have the wherewithal to figure out that maybe they've deviated from their rules, it is our duty to call them on it, not just our right, which is absolutely our right to call to question why they made a decision, or why they're using a system that they weren't authorized to use, why they're using a system that wasn't certified for voting in the state until 2 months after the election. Like, there's lots of questions that would not pass. Like, if you got pulled over by a cop and you were like, well, I'm driving 2 months after my license expired because I got a piece of paper that said it was going to get extended. He would just take your car, impound you, leave you on the side of the road, right? Like, that's not, like, it doesn't work for the rest of us to do that. And they can't just claim, well, we're the government, so you have to live with it.
Yeah. No, they're not following their laws. And
No.
we found so many cases of fraud across all these counties that we compiled. And then we realized, so for all of you in Texas, if you don't understand this point, I just want one thing that you can take away is you're going to find out all this information about your county. Get involved, come ask us. We have literally, I think there's 22 counties where we know very specifically what the fraud is in each of those separate counties. We know very clearly. And it's really egregious, but I'll just leave that aside for a second. And this is just related to certifications. I'm not talking about all the audit stuff. That's a whole other can of worms that we are not focused on right now, because we know that other people are, but we are focused on certifications and the versions and the contracts. Okay. So if you are in Texas and you want to know what's going on in your county, reach out to us. But the point that I want to make is that, okay, we have this evidence, like we know in Travis County, for example, that the version that they claim that they used was not certified at the time by the Secretary of State for use in Texas, nor was it certified by the EAC, because the accreditation companies that are supposedly accredited to certify were not certified. So it's like double issues, right? We can try and file a lawsuit. We can, there's lots of different things we can try and do. But the fact of the matter is they didn't follow the election code of the state of Texas. They didn't. They broke the HAVA Act. They didn't file, they didn't follow their own laws. But, if we take that to our DA, our county DA, and we've had people, we've all kind of tried to do this, right? Our county DA doesn't even prosecute, child abuse cases in Travis County right now. We have a very corrupt, district attorney. And a lot of the counties are in the same position where it's like the only person that's supposed to be able to prosecute election fraud is your district attorney. And it doesn't say that when a district attorney is handed evidence, the law actually says that they shall, do something about that. And the word "shall" is a very strong word in law. It means that they have to. but they don't. They use their discretion. They're elected and they're just as, corrupt as anybody else because they were elected on these fraudulent machines. So then there was a new law that was created in section 273 that was supposed to go into effect in December of 2021 that allowed the attorney general to be able to prosecute election fraud if it happened across multiple counties. So we were going to take, all of this information we did take all this information to the attorney general. But what was interesting is that the attorney general, they took a case up through the criminal court of appeals in Texas and that is now thrown into question what his authority is as the attorney general through this new law. It's basically that court said, no, he doesn't have the authority constitutionally in Texas to do that. So we're kind of in limbo at this point with who and where we can have I don't think the word is recourse. What is the constitutional word that we're supposed to be able to have? Not recourse. I can't remember the word, but we basically have
redress your grievances.
Redress our grievances. Exactly. We have no ability in the state of Texas to redress our grievances about the fraud that happened with these election machines and is still happening today. So we are, as a group working through that and trying to figure out still how to hold these officials accountable for these things. But again, we would not have found this information without knowing how to, or not even knowing. I mean, it's pretty easy to know how to file a public information request, but without just doing it and trying it and working through it and getting the no response, filing complaints with the attorney general, getting more specific with our questions, because that's something, Bobby, I don't know if you want to chat more about, like getting very targeted in the questions that we were sending and sending them to the right department, because I found in Travis County, there were multiple open records request departments and I was requesting from the wrong one at some point, so this has been a year, 15-month long process at this point to get the documents that we need to corroborate the laws that were broken.
So my experience with Freedom of Information Act requests from like the early 2000s, I worked for a defense contractor, and when we would lose a particular proposal for something with the Army, as an example, we would FOIA request the notes that the procurement team took on our proposal so we could see how we scored, because they wouldn't necessarily just give that to you. And so we would go get whatever we could get. And so applying it to finding out information to empower myself as opposed to the company, it was like, oh, well, of course you would. So the more specific you can make your request, the better, but be careful, because they're just like a toddler. They'll do exactly what you say. So if you ask for the wrong thing, they'll go, here are the FedEx labels from the boxes that you asked for. They won't tell you, they won't give you the stuff in the boxes because you didn't ask for that stuff. So you have to be real careful about what you ask for is what you actually want. And then if you say, I want all the emails between this date and this date, like you'll get junk mail that they get sent, you'll get spam, and they'll calculate all of that up and they'll say that's 73,000 emails. And then they'll say, we need someone to print them. So you'll have to pay the labor for that person to print them. And that's not what you want, because almost every agency is going to print and scan. So you'll get like an unsearchable 900 megabyte PDF that you'll have to scan through with your eyeballs, because you'll never be able to keyword search it, right? So you want to get it as small as you can and then ask another one. You know what I mean? It's easier to ask in a direction and find out something and then pivot to go in another slightly smaller direction. Don't just go, I want everything from Obama's first year. Just send me that, because they'll say, okay, we got your request. We have other requests. We'll get back to you. And they'll never get back to you, or they'll get back to you with an enormous bill. And they'll be able to justify it by saying, well, what you've actually asked for is 17 million emails. And that's going to be, and that's not really what you wanted. Like, you were just hoping to get something you could keyword search, and it will never be that efficient.
No, and it's all worth it. I mean, this has all been 100% worth it. And I mean, there was something that Josie was able to get that helped us with our case tremendously, because it showed that they knew about the case, because they had cited the case in a communication between each other. So it was just really the whole process to me has been very interesting and enlightening. But again, it just really goes to show you that, in episode 2, we talked about going to the source of information. Like, that's exactly what we need. Like, go find the information yourself, understand what's going on in your community, go pay attention to your county commissioners court meetings, the archives. There's a treasure trove of information that you can get access to, which will help you to hold your officials accountable and to be more involved in your community and making sure that it's not corrupt. Because in the end, no one else is going to do that. Like, you think somebody's going to come in and clean up your county? No, that person is going to be you. If you are listening to this and you are wanting to do something, that's what you can do. Sharing information on social media only goes so far. Like, actually, it's so, for me, and I don't know if I'm sure you guys will probably agree, like, I could sit here being depressed and angry about what's going on with our country, or I can channel that energy into, getting this information. And for me, like, searching through the county commissioner's archives, showing up to these meetings, reading contracts, requesting information, getting them into a box, to send me whatever I need, going to the attorney general's office, like, all of that has really helped in the past year to just like channel my anger into something productive, because that is how we win. That is how we win.
And one thing I thought of earlier that I want to make sure anybody listening to this recognizes is that, like, after the primary in Texas in March, I was in the counting room in Travis County in Election Central, and I was in the back. Really obvious to me that when you say fraud, it's like someone actually did something. And I think the problem we're fighting is bigger than fraud. So if you're making requests from people from your county and you're assuming they're crooks that are like at home getting paid under the table to cheat in elections, that I don't think that's really, that might be happening in some counties, but I don't think that's really the issue we're against. What we're really up against is a system that is dysfunctional at best. And that the fact that it's dysfunctional means that any race can be determined in any way, and it's almost impossible to show that that one was false. So that whoever is really whoever's elected now can kind of guide who will continue to be elected. So they always maintain power. And it's very difficult to point out which one was the hole or where was the leak, because it isn't like just somebody came in the back door with 100 boxes of votes. That would be very easy. The problem is this department doesn't talk to that department. This department certified a machine that they don't use. This machine was used in the other machine and nobody knew that it was. So we have to tie all those pieces together to show that these 7 departments, which maybe includes 55 employees, those 55 employees, to the best of their knowledge, were doing their jobs, but none of their jobs are connected in a way that anybody knows what actually happened. And that's the problem, because there's no accountability across the entire system that they can just basically handpick whoever they want, which means everyone who's elected, regardless of party, is in question, because they all are benefiting from the fruit of this poisoned system that we're funding with our tax dollars. So when you talk to those people, they're just people working, and that's their job. And the 4 things they've been told to do, they think they're doing well. It's the problem is that those 4 things don't have accountability to someone else that has an actual system that would keep a for-profit business in business. They would go out of business if they were a for-profit business, because they're so disorganized. There's so much ignorance between different departments. So don't attack them personally, just be nice to them, because every time they're nice back and give you some information, it helps fill in a gap or brings another piece to the puzzle, so you can tell the story of what happened across all the departments, because eventually you know more about that system than each of the employees you talk to. And it doesn't take you very long, because they only know their little piece and they go home and play with their dogs. Nobody cares. at the county. That is my experience. None of them care at all. They just want to get through their day. And when you ask questions, it's making their day worse. So if you're nice, like Josie said she was, she called her up, she's super nice. If you're nice, you will get so much more out of them than if you call up and say, hey, this is fraud. You guys are stealing everything from us. Because it's real. If whoever stole this from us doesn't answer phones from peasants. So you're never going to actually be able to yell at the person you want to yell at. So just be nice to those people and you'll get much more out of them. That's my, okay, that's my soapbox. That's all I got.
I think I couldn't agree more. And all I have to say is that to end this off, and Josie, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add. Sorry, I had muted you because it was sounding windy. But I couldn't agree more. We have to be kind always. Always be kind. We don't know what's going on, right? And neither do they. And I think it's the institutionalization that has caused this problem. It's a systemic issue where people just are doing their job, right? I'm just doing my job. This is just my job, right? They don't think to ask these questions. I didn't think to ask these questions 2 years ago, right? So we're all, just kind of waking up to asking questions. We're just asking questions. We're just asking questions, looking at information and coming up with conclusions. We're looking at the law. We're looking at the information. We're matching it up. And, then you can draw some conclusions as to what happened. And then you just have to figure out how to bring that information to light with a press that is not helping at all, and with a court system that also is very difficult to navigate. But you know what? We're here for it. Like I said, we have 22 different counties that we're going after it, right? And we're working hard to try and figure this out. The more counties we can add to that list, the better. So please reach out to us. Again, we're very focused on the certifications. That has been our focus, understanding what version the county is telling us that they used, what version the Secretary of State is saying was certified for use, what version the EAC was saying was certified for use, and who was the accredited certifying company that claims that they certified the system. So again, that whole chain and figuring out, is it the county that was corrupt? Is it somebody else that is corrupt? Where did the systemic issues break down? And where are the gaps in information? And, what does the contract say? It's very interesting to learn these things. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Josie, for all of the amazing PIAs that you've requested. I am in awe sometimes when you are like, oh, I have that already. When we think, oh, we need some bit of information, and she's already gotten it. She's already asked for it months ago when we were first talking about it. I am definitely behind the 8 ball on that one, but you are always right there asking for the information. And I just want you to know how much we appreciate you and people like you who are just right up in there. As soon as we say, I wonder what that was, you go and you ask for it. And I think that is just gold, and you are very appreciated.
Well, thank you very much. It's just the way things turn out is not the way I expect. Just by asking it, I don't plan anything in particular. It's astounding what actually happens. What strange things happen and things you uncover that you never expect. So it's worth doing it, and just be persistent, and then keep asking for documents they do not send you. And ask it again, even though they will say to you, we've already responded to the request, and I never answer back, you didn't send me what I asked for. I just let it all accumulate until my email chain comes to a certain point, and then I'll say, well, thank you very much for providing all the information, the responsive information for everything. But still, these documents you did not send to me in the end. And then I'll use the code, the Texas code that applies, that was paramount and very important. And without those documents, their elections using certain voting systems are null and void according to election code such and such. And that's how I try and tell them this is not kosher, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Well, we
and
appreciate
and
it.
actually, and some of the other things that have happened, I could not imagine. Yeah. So, and it leads to other things that help in other ways, you know, so yeah, you never know what you uncover.
Yes, and
Yeah.
somebody has to ask these questions. Somebody has to find this information, and that person is you.
Yeah.
Who are listening here. That person is you. You are going to be the person to ask and find this information. Just reach out to us.
Yeah.
Focused Action. What's the email? info@focusedaction.io. Or you can is
Okay.
that it? No. Yeah, okay, you set it up.
I didn't set that one up, but I can set that one up. That's all right.
Or whatever, where can they contact us? If you want to DM me on Telegram, I'm at Lenny VG, and we have at Bobby TX. Reach out to us. If you are in Texas, we'll add you to the group. We'll get you going in your county. We appreciate you. We need every single person to be asking these questions to fix their communities. Thank you guys so much for listening, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.